Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Season 3, Week 4 of the DC Sports Digest. Not the best week in DC Sports, but still some positives to talk about, so without further ado, let's just get started. Starting with the Nats, wanted to shout out Dalen Lau. He made the All-Rookie second team and was 5th place in the Rookie of the Year voting, so congrats to him on a really solid Rookie year. Hopefully he can keep building on that next year. And our new manager, Blake Butera, made a couple new hires, hired a new bench coach, Michael Johns, and new pitching coach, Simon Matthews. So good to see him starting to get active in that department. That's all I have for the Nats. On the Wizards, 3 more losses, lost to the Mavs, Pistons, and Rockets. Kept it close versus the Pistons and Mavs. Obviously, CJ McCollum scores 42 versus the Pistons. We lost in overtime to them. Another pretty close one with the Mavs, but we lost that one. Then lost pretty big to the Rockets. So yeah, not too great, but hopefully next week we can get our second win that we're looking for. The Nets aren't so great. Timberwolves will probably lose too, but maybe we have a chance versus the Raptors. We also haven't won an NBA Cup game before, so maybe we'll win our first NBA Cup game. Who knows? But that's all for the Wizards. Hopefully they can get a win somewhere. On to the Caps, they lost to the Lightning and Panthers. They did beat the Hurricanes. That was their one bright spot this week. They looked really good against a solid team in the Hurricanes, beating them 4-1. But the other 2 games didn't look so great. And unfortunately, Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to miss 3 or 4 months. He had surgery. So that's a pretty big loss, but hopefully he'll come back and he'll be healthy once he comes back. But yeah, not the best week I said for the Caps, but got a good win versus the Hurricanes. But like I said, the schedule is still pretty difficult. They have games this week versus the Devils, Kings, Oilers, and Canadiens. All pretty solid teams, so hopefully they can try to stay afloat, because right now they're last place in the East, I'm pretty sure, or at least close to it. So they need to keep staying afloat and stay competitive in a very close and competitive Eastern Conference. So that's all I have for the Caps. On to the Commanders, they lost again to the Lions. That is their 5th straight loss. Defense allowed a score on every drive, except for the final kneel down, so that's pretty bad. And we had more injuries. Ali Kahu was injured, and unfortunately Trey Amos is out for the season. Had a pretty promising rookie year. Didn't have any stats that jumped out, but he played really solid, and he's looking like a promising young player, which is unfortunate. Teron Payne was ejected. He threw a punch at Allen-Ross St. Brown. There's a little bit of a scuffle beforehand, but they didn't want to address that, so he's suspended a game. That's a pretty big loss for our defense next week. Wanted to shout out Traylon Burks, and the offense actually looked pretty good. Unfortunately, Traylon Burks is injured. He's out this week. Hopefully he'll come back after the bye. But yeah, the offense looked okay. Scored like 22 points. It still isn't that much, but like the offense looked a little bit better than it had in previous years. And also, really, the other big news is that Dan Quinn took over defensive play calling from Joe Witt Jr. They're not going to fire him in the season, even though they probably should. But Dan Quinn's going to take over the play calling. I don't think it will change that much. The problem is the schemes are just too old-fashioned. They need modern play calling where there's a lot of disguises in the defense, and also putting the players in the right spots. I think next year we just need to get a young defensive coordinator, like I said, who can put the players in the right spots and kind of just disguise their schemes. Like if you're going to blitz, don't make it look like you're going to blitz. Or if you're going to drop in coverage, don't make it look like you're going to drop in coverage. Just disguise things a little bit to make it more difficult for the offense, which is another one of the reasons why our defense just looks so terrible. So that is my little rant about defensive play calling. But we'll see what happens with Dan Quinn as the calling plays this week. One other side note, HKS was named as the lead architect for the new stadium. So that's great to see. They have a pretty good track record. Their projects include AT&T Stadium for the Cowboys, SoFi Stadium for the Rams and Chargers, and US Bank Stadium for the Vikings. I also meant to put Lucas Oil Stadium for the Colts. So a lot of very unique architecture type stadiums. So I think that's what they want to go for our stadium too. So that is great to see. So now that we have an architect, they'll start figuring out a plan, and maybe we'll get some blueprints, like I said, soon, especially now that we have a lead architect. Coming this week, we have a game in Madrid versus the Dolphins. Get up early at 9:30 for that one, so that'll be interesting. Dolphins aren't doing so well, but we're also not doing so well either, so it may not be the best game, but maybe we'll be able to pull out a win in Madrid. And that's all I have for the Commanders. Other DC sports news, like I said last week, the Washington Spirit won their quarterfinal game versus Louisville, and their semifinal game is versus Portland in about an hour or so. So tune into that, and good luck to them in the semifinals. DC Power lost to Brooklyn and beat Fort Lauderdale. Their next games this week versus Carolina. And I also wanted to mention that the MLS is going to move to a European schedule in the 2027 season for DC United. So normally they start, I think, around March. So next season they'll start in March, and then after that they will start in July. They'll have a little winter break and have playoffs in May. So just a couple more breaks and just have a similar model as the European schedule, which I think helps players if like they end up transferring between Europe and the U.S. I think that's a smart move. So yeah, we'll see how that goes in the MLS in a couple years. On my weekly awards, I'm just giving the game of the week to the Caps beating the Hurricanes 4-1. Other than that, really not too much else to mention because not really many other games we've won this week, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we'll do better next week. And that's all I have for this video, so thank you guys for watching. Check out the Instagram and make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.